Caroline Kanana, thank you for joining. Today we have a really special guest, Nadia Harris, that she's actually a pioneer remote worker, digital nomad. She is a published author, right? She is a speaker, she is consulting. Really great honor to have you today. And Nadia, thank you for joining.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure. When you were speaking, I had to think twice if you were really speaking about me, but sounds like yes. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Alrighty. So Nadia, for our audience over there in the other side, please tell us a little bit about yourself. You had really long journey so far, right? Started in 2015, is it?
That's correct, indeed. I think, I have to make a mini intro here because the journey
It's
that
good.
brought me here is long. It did start in 2015, but it's not that straight as some people would think. Like, what is the job or what is it that you need to have to go this path, right? To walk
Yep.
this path. And I will tell you, there is not one path, there is not one journey, there is not one thing that you do that you know is going to bring you there. I'm also a very strong advocate when it comes to freelancers, gig work, side hustles, all that kind of stuff. And back in 2015, when I, for the very first time, heard the word remote, I was like, it's a scam. It's not true. It
Hmm.
probably is like,
Yeah.
and I was, yeah, right. It's like, no, like, how does how does it even work? Like, how is it possible that someone is going to pay you money for not being in an office? That was my thinking, and it wasn't even popular back then. So I had my first role in 2015, and I started working with remotely with a company from California. That is a language-based job. So, other words, a translator and interpreter, because I speak several languages. And that kind of broadened my horizons, and I thought, hey, I can still do it, log into the system, be here and there, go here and there, And at that time, I still lived in the States, but I would be, I don't know, in Boston, in New York, here. And I'm like, oh, I'm working all the time. Like, how is that even possible? And I'm even making some money. And then I moved to Europe. And I was still doing it and even more and more and more. And suddenly, I decided to, I went into the HR field, into talent acquisition, and I started working with companies from all around the world, hiring people on different continents. And I thought, like, well, that's kind of fun. You don't really need to be there, You don't really need to be there to have an interview with someone, especially in the tech industry. Like, why, in the first place? And then in addition to that, I thought, well, would be kind of cool to make some extra money on the side. So I signed up at portals like, Upwork, Fiverr, here and there. And it just started happening. Obviously, it wasn't overnight that someone, would pay me a lot of money. There were offers for $2, for $5. I was like, no, I don't really want to do this. But,
Oh my God.
yeah, you never know because everyone keeps throwing everything at you, So it's not like you have to take everything. Of course, you don't have to take everything. But then with time, there was more and more and different engagements and here and there and hiring. And at the same time, this language job that I had. And then a few years ago, that was a long time before the pandemic. Now I can say I was already working with different companies, and I felt like, okay, it's possible to I don't know, do a project here, do a project there, we're not limited anymore. And then at that time I decided to start my own brand, Remote Work Advocate, helping people to embrace flexible working and companies, embrace flexible working so that we free our mindset from, um, being stuck in the industrial era. In addition to that, I'm also a lawyer. That's my primary education. So now what I specialize in, getting back to the legal profession, over a year ago and a half, because I stopped it and then I did something else. And then I kind of, why
Uh-huh.
not juggle? I mean, you can do that. Who says no,
Mhm.
right? Ridiculous. So now I write remote work policies, workation policies for companies so that people can allow their employees to be a little bit of a digital nomad, even to that
Mhm.
extent, so that everyone can try out this lifestyle.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. First of all, wow, what a journey. You mentioned few different, area, let's call it, of your professional kind of experience. Let's go to the beginning. Let's start with, like, 2015, first job that you're actually starting to do remotely. Um, until you actually start to go to Upwork and get into the HR. Like, how long have you been there in the language kind of work?
Oh, I will be very honest, until today.
Until today.
So
Okay, great.
yeah, that is my side hustle. Not many people know about this because I don't talk about this, but I believe in a situation where you have multiple income streams. And I've always believed in it with all my heart, but because of the fact that the majority of the world was like, you have to be stable and you have to choose one
Hmm.
thing, I wouldn't talk about it. But well, now we see what's happening globally, and everyone's like, oh, I should have started a side hustle a long time ago. And I was always like, hello. But plus, I really like it. So I
Yeah.
started it like, I really like it. Like, why not? So what is it about? It's an interesting role. How did I find it to start with? So I was looking for something and I didn't know what I was looking for. So in 2015, I started sending out my resume everywhere and I had no idea where it landed. I'll be very frank. And suddenly I got a phone call like, hey, we're looking for someone to work remotely, with languages. You speak different languages. And like, yeah, I do. Yes. So, we have this role. We will train you. You will get different certificates. And I was like, it's kind of weird, but okay. I'm always a very curious person, so I thought, okay, let's do it. And then I started, and what it looks like basically is that you have a platform that you can log in, and you work with all kinds of industries, from hospitals, translating surgeries live, interpreting them live, through court trials, accidents, on the road, with the police sometimes, IT troubleshooting, all around the world, like all the time, whenever someone needs the language combination that you have. And this company that I work with, and there are several different ones, so they have contracts signed with institutions, with public institutions, with the government, with companies. So there's always a combination, like every
Hmm.
day, all the time. So sometimes I do a little bit until this day. There was a time when I pretty much lived on it, like all the time. It's a lot of hard work because it's, your brain juggling from one thing
Yeah.
to the other. But it has given me, this flexibility and this openness that I suddenly didn't have to ask anyone, that I wanted to go somewhere. No one was judging me because no one was like, who am I? What am I doing? As long as I get things done. And where
Yep.
I am, nobody cared, as long as everything was compliant, meaning it was quiet, no background noise, good line, and everything translated in a great manner, great customer feedback, which I always had, apparently. So that's, and this was the beginning, the very beginning. And then I thought, let's just make use of it. But still, I was looking for like a stable job because I
Table
didn't
learn.
believe,
Yeah.
yeah, because I didn't believe up to, I think, 2017, that although I started in 2015, up to 2017, I didn't believe that this could be something that you can rely on, actually.
Yeah.
So I was looking for something stable, standard, still with this mindset. And I did find something stable, standard, but then that was in talent acquisition and recruitment. But then I very quickly saw that, and at the same time, I signed up on Upwork. And I very quickly noticed, which is both said and not said, that my remote side hustles started paying me more than my
Hmm.
full-time job on
Yeah.
site. That started me thinking.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. Talent acquisition, HR, it is something that is become like really, 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 really strong, especially since the pandemic. A lot of people turn and switch, and something with like HR, which is like so in line with remote work. right? So it's obviously got much more popular. So two questions. First of all, how do you actually get into it in such a competitive market, let's call it? Even Upwork today and all of the platform are full of people that have like experience like yourself working from 2017 over there. Basically it is a lot. It's really hard to get into it, right?
Yes, it is hard, and I don't have a golden recipe to say that it's so amazing that you click and you make thousands of dollars. Of course
Yeah,
not. And
we're
it's
not
never
there.
the same. Yeah, so if someone wants to start, I know people who ask me what they should do to start doing these things, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do an additional course, an additional diploma, an additional certificate." And I'm like, don't really think about it that much. You have to start producing something, doing something. So even if you, I don't know, can get like a super low paid gig to start with, but you need some kind of experience, whether it's, if it's HR, for example, or if it's recruitment, you can, talent acquisition, so recruitment, you can start as a trainee, you can start, to read about it, produce content about it. There's so many now platforms available where you, if you know someone, you can even share their profile, and then you can even make money, like matchmaking, online talent platforms. There is so much. Or sometimes, you can watch so many webinars or YouTube materials of how to look for people, get trained. I think it's not that important today to have a certificate or anything, but actually to have some hands-on experience. So you can start very small, start with like really very small gigs where you do a research of the market, you check the what the people, if there's availability of the people on the market where the client is looking for that, to be able to understand and to get some experience. And then with
Mhm.
Upwork, it's this thing that the higher your rating is and the more reviews you have, the more you get approached. So
Of
obviously the
course.
best paid gig, yeah, go to the probably highest rated people. But although I am not active on Upwork, and I haven't been active on Upwork, I would say since 2019, right now, I still get approached almost every week. So, but
Really?
it's connected to a different email, and I ignore it. I get approached sometimes. That I'm sorry, no, I don't mean to ignore anyone, but it's just like it's just, I can't do I can't do so many things, at once. Yeah, but it's still there. So I get approached either for, some HR things, but a lot for language things, that I have
Hmm.
really very broad expertise in that. Yeah, but I don't even respond that I'm interested. So they just send it out like a bunch of invitations to people, and I don't respond to that.
Yeah.
But if I had the need, I could. So you have to start with something.
So it is a channel that anytime basically that you want or need, you can actually approach and start kind of fishing or looking in it. Um,
Yeah.
so let me just for a second to kind of summarize your like what you said right now. So if you actually want to jump into the HR, even though that is really, really, really kind of competitive and full, and it's not like the go-to, and a role that you can actually show a portfolio, like a designer or content writer or a language, for example, language positions, sort of. So basically, we need to start small. We need to start like to do even like small paid job just to get a feeling with it. And what do you think about like is should be the next step, like getting expertise, like getting being an expert in something really specific, or just branch more and find more things, improve your skills as you go.
I think that the transition to something that you really want to do isn't that quick and that easy. So I would say do it step by step. So if you have another skill, something that you're doing, it's not saying burn all bridges and say it's going to be somehow. I mean, there are risk takers out there for sure, but
Mhm.
it wouldn't be my advice to do that. So I would say step by step, make yourself an expert, right? you really can do it. It's not like that you have to have 10 or 15 years of experience in a corporation, because if you have a brain and you can read and write and speak and listen to different things, that you can shape up your own opinions and you can get this experience. So
Mhm.
today, when we live in the digital era, there's so much availability of different stuff. And even when you look at I don't know, very low paid roles like interns, trainees, or some roles that may be even similar here to HR. You can have people operations, you can have content, production for things related to people, to lifestyle, to, I don't know, recruitment. You can have roles that are, I don't know, if someone's good at payroll, for example, if someone is good at learning and development, if someone is a psychologist, for example, things like that. So the transition, and if you have absolutely zero skills, you can still do it, but you kind of have to start getting the knowledge and then letting the world know that you know something. So you can, and that's my opinion, and that's also what I did, you can build yourself from nothing. You can start a great LinkedIn profile by starting to write what you think, producing articles. You can start following people that you're interested in, sharing your opinions. And then when you finally apply, there is a trace of some expertise, of something that you did, even as a passionate professional about a certain topic. And that
Mhm.
opens many doors today.
Great. Alrighty. And let's leave us to what you're actually doing today. I guess this is your main focus, I want to say.
Yes, that is my main focus indeed. So that was like a long journey to where we are today. Yes. So as I said, I founded remoteworkadvocate.com. So now I work with companies when it comes to flexible working implementation. And that's my major point of focus. So as I've said, I design remote work policies. The laws change in different countries. So I definitely do this. I help companies also to be compliant. I also have my own learning platform. I also launched my online course for remote workers, no,
Wow.
for fresh remote workers. Yeah, I just launched it last month. How to find your remote job, how to find your first remote job.
Link in description, guys.
Yeah, yeah, we will do that definitely. Yeah, for people, so that it actually, even the price is even very low, just to be honest. And I know this, and I say it out loud, just because I want everyone to be able to benefit from it.
Be approachable,
Everyone.
right?
Exactly, approachable. So it doesn't matter if you live in Asia, you live in Africa, you live in Europe, you got laid off, or you just want to change your career. You really can do it, just like I did it when I was sitting and thinking, what am I going to do with my life? So,
Yep.
and this is, yeah, and this is the thing for the people. And obviously, I also work with companies in terms of implementing HR processes, people processes. I also run different webinars and workshops for corporations about the same topic. Yeah, and I also have a couple of online courses for enterprises. It's a lot of work.
Beautiful. Wow, it's a lot of work. All right, so let me kind of break it out to two, okay? There is your personal brand that I want to speak about in a second, but more than that, there is like the services that you're giving online that you're able to do remotely. So obviously, the change after the pandemic dragged a lot of high ticket services, let's call it, or high paid services that you give as lawyer, accounting, even doctors today given like online psychologist treatments, etc., etc., etc. How do you actually affect, like, what is the effect on the companies? I'm really curious to see like the corporate side, the people that are actually still working in the office, okay, and work with you as a contractor, let's say. How do you see the change, the difference of the mindset, the difference of the person?
It's a completely different world, and I'll be very honest. I work with companies that have decided to go more flexible after the pandemic. During the pandemic, everyone had to. And I also know companies that have been like this forever. And it's a huge, huge, huge difference. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're talking with someone who's coming from a different world, because I think that to be able to reshape your thinking, to understand that there is more potential than problems, that there is no, we've always done it this way, you have to have this kind of process, no, you cannot travel, being a digital nomad is illegal, all these kind of things. It is in people's, or this is not normal. like do something stable, do something normal. I heard that about myself before the pandemic, that I should focus on something stable because I seem to be quite intelligent. I was, yeah, like go to a corporation, be a manager. So the mindset still has to change. And I think the society has put us in a place where we take many things for granted, we follow them, we repeat them without thinking whether it makes sense in general, whether it fulfills our purpose, if it makes us happy. And then we don't even look outside of our comfort zone because we accept things the way they are. And I think that's the problem with many companies in general, with the mindset, even for the people. The biggest problem that I see today, if the companies decide, obviously, to also work with me and also with other remote work advocates and experts, then they make the first step, and that's great. And I mean, I absolutely am very happy, especially when I see that the laws change in different countries and it becomes, something that you will have to start implementing eventually. Then you meet with the people, and then suddenly you see that basics like boundaries, that you don't have this front door of your office where you open and close it, and then this is your boundary, but suddenly you are free to design your time. How do I do that? It's something new. And I think this is something that digital nomads, remote first people have always had, knowing that they're independent and that they can prioritize, plan their time according to their personal needs and preferences, which is not the case with the global workforce, unfortunately.
Absolutely. All right. That was a great insight. I really love the answer. All right, let's talk a little bit more. Let's move on, as always, to talk about the lifestyle as a digital nomad. So obviously you been there, you felt it like when it's like before it was a thing even, right? And you're working on your daily basis with corporate and people that still work in office. First of all, I guess really appreciate your life, right?
Yeah, oh, I really do. Yeah. Sometimes I get FOMO because it's my own self, but I really appreciate it very much.
Beauty. So tell us a little bit about a lifestyle as a digital nomad. If we're gonna speak to people that just starting or even didn't like haven't started just yet, but working remotely, what would you recommend them to do or should look for?
So I mean, there are different types of digital nomads and people willing to have a different lifestyle. I don't think there's a definition of what a digital nomad does because everyone's shaping their own unique experience. And so I can only speak about myself and my experience, plus I could share stories of other people that I know. But for me, it's this way that you see, I have a thought like, oh, I'd like to go there. My passion, by the way, is obviously traveling. I mean, it's not hard to figure out. So that's definitely the case. And so I look for different tickets, different flights, different hotels, different places. I spend hours on online forums at night in bed. What destination is cool? What restaurant is fun? Where to go to have a cocktail? Which site to go to? Who was where? What did they say? The people? What experience was better? And I really love it that much that I am a planning freak and I plan everything. And then I find the tickets and I find the place to stay. If it's a bed and breakfast, whatever that is, it doesn't really matter. I find everything. I plan everything. I design the whole experience. Some of it there are a few elements that are obviously always a big surprise. So I don't plan every hour of where I go because sometimes I stay
Of
somewhere a bit
course.
longer. But there are always some, special moments that I don't know. On a certain day in the afternoon, I know I'm going there, and that's something to look forward to, something super special. It's either a
Hmm.
super known place or an amazing restaurant, or I don't know, the theater, or just an experience to meet with the people, a boat trip, a cruise, a dance. I have no idea what, it can be, but also in between that, you have to work. So, and it's not the way that I disconnect. It's not, people get misled a lot because they think that you're just permanently on a vacation. The truth is that to be able to combine the fun of the lifestyle with your responsibilities is tough, and you have to be super accountable and have this feeling that you need to deliver everything that you've agreed on. There's no like, oh, the stars are so nice, the pool is so great, I'm just not going to work.
Mhm.
No chance, you know. You have to be super disciplined.
Discipline. Discipline is something that repeating maybe like in 95% of all of the interviews that we have, all of the talk shows that we have. And this is a great thing. Like this is something that I wanted to ask you. Work-life balance, how is your like regular day
Mm.
to day look like? I mean, obviously you're investing a lot. You invested, okay, a lot in sourcing and looking and planning. But where is the work actually getting into the schedule?
Yeah, so it depends what I'm currently doing. So it's either, you know, when I'm staying at a certain, I call myself a part-time digital nomad because I have a place of residence as well. So then my days are a bit different when I'm there, and my days are a bit different when I'm elsewhere and when I'm traveling. So
Mhm,
depending on all this, I think there are some elements that are definitely very similar. The similar element is that my laptop is fortunately or unfortunately my best friend, my life companion. So not because I'm a control freak, but you know, I also am a person who works for myself. So I know that I can't say to someone, you know what, I don't care, but I'm off
yeah.
now. You know, obviously I communicate
Talk to
this
me
that
Monday. It's not existing.
exactly. Exactly, you know, so you kind of, so I mean, I would say, and I will be very honest, I don't think I have work-life balance. I probably have work-life integration. That's definitely the case, which makes things very difficult sometimes because you have to know when to say stop, like stop. And I mean, there are situations where I was very unhappy with myself. And I remember there was a situation, I think it was 2018 or 2019. I was in Seville in Spain, just about to visit the cathedral, which is very beautiful there, you know. And then I unfortunately forgot to log myself out of the system, and I couldn't leave the apartment where I had a 2 hour surgery in French to translate. And everyone that I was traveling with went, and I was so
Oh,
angry and so furious, you know. And then I eventually joined them for 10 minutes just to run around. And then I'm like, you know what? Well, this is an experience. Whereas you're doing something that you could be doing, I don't know where, wherever, no place special. And this
mhm,
is sometimes the clash that you get, that you feel like you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'd love to do this or that or go here and there. But there's a responsibility. And many people who go join me, for example, or like for the whole stay or for part of the stay, they're on vacation sometimes because they have full-time job, and they're like, oh, she travels, you know, let me join her, it's just going to be fun. And they're off, so they're like off all the time. I'm not off, you know. That's my lifestyle. So I'm the
mhm,
one
mhm.
responsible and deliver and dedicate time. So, and it is not easy essentially to do this, but there's always compromise. I mean, you have to know what you're looking for. This is, for me, it's this independence that I wouldn't give away for anything else in the world. Asking someone for a permission to be able to go, I don't know, to Milan for dinner just because I feel
Mhm.
like doing it. There's a cheap flight, you know. That's it. It's very simple.
Yeah, yeah, all right. Yeah, that's a great answer. Now let's talk maybe on the biggest challenge, right, of digital nomads, networking, loneliness, if you want to call it, or how to avoid staying alone while you're moving around and traveling.
So, I mean, for me personally, and I again don't want to, you know, insult anyone here or anything, but loneliness doesn't exist for me, and it has never existed. As a matter of fact, I feel that I am more exhausted from meeting people than not meeting them. So when I go back to my base, I'm like, done. I'm done. I don't want to see anyone, talk to anyone, meet anyone, not because I'm antisocial or anything, but it's just so much. And I
Yeah.
think that you know, it's not about being sociable or being an outsider, but I think that again here, many people associate work with their social life. And I said that in one of some podcasts, I think, very recently, that if someone associates their social life with going to the office, then I'm very sorry for them that it's that way. So I said it very, very openly because it's tragic. It's tragic that you have no personal life, no preferences. So, for example, when I stay in one location or I stay where I live for longer, I go to the gym. I go have some exercise, I meet people, I'm around people. There are several cafes that I like working from. I go to these cafes. The people in these cafes know me.
Yeah.
We say hello, we have chats, we're here, you're around people. I mean, you can isolate yourself, but the truth is that, also online networking. I mean, I'm very active on LinkedIn. There's almost every day, if not every day, I lose track, so I don't know, people being like, hey, let's have a chat, like, what are you up to, this and that. So there, every day I'm talking with people from all around the world with so many stories that sometimes I'm like, let's just not talk for a day. So loneliness isn't really the case. I wouldn't say that. No, not in my situation.
Not in your situation. All right, so let me make it tougher a little bit. So, how are you actually getting into a deep connection with a person? So, this is probably something that is really important to a lot of digital nomads to have the feeling that they have like a deep connection. It's not like kind of a interest or something like that, a temporal thing, etc., etc., etc.
100% yes. And I'll give you a few examples. There are a few people that I met online. And then when I was somewhere in a certain destination, we met in real life and we felt like we've known each other forever. And that is the most beautiful experience you can have. I really have friends and actually friends, not people I know, but friends, that we meet once in a while, like every year, every 2 years, like, oh, are you going to be here in London? Yeah, like, let's meet up in London. Oh, I'm actually going to Frankfurt. Yeah, I live in Frankfurt. Hi, and now, for example, a very good example, in 2 weeks, I will be in Paris. And my remote friend, who lives in Frankfurt, and I met with her in Frankfurt last year. It turned out that she will be in Paris the same time, and
Very
then we
nice.
already have our, lunch booked. And this is
Hmm.
amazing, and we're
Yeah.
in touch like all the time, exchanging experiences. Or when I go to conferences, for example, for digital nomads or for remote workers, those are all the people that I know online that, comment on my posts, share content, here, reach out, and suddenly you meet and like, hey, I feel like I know you. It's so amazing. Let's go have wine
Hmm.
together, this and that, and it's beautiful. I think you can do it. You really can do it.
Beautiful. All righty. Let's talk a little bit about your favorite destination. Obviously, as a pioneer digital nomad, you probably visit a lot of countries. How many countries have you actually visited?
I'm not ready for this question. I don't know, but many, very, 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 very many. So many that, my Instagram feed reminds me that I've actually been somewhere. So
Oh my God.
really, okay.
All right, that's amazing. All right, so let's talk about your favorite. I'm not sure, like a lot of people when I ask them this question, what is your favorite destination? They kind of they step back, they don't know, especially people that they travel a lot. So try
Yeah.
to give me your, I don't know, give me your top, okay, destination actually to be a nomad.
I would be the same one who would say stop. And I knew you would ask that question, and I knew I
I
would be
have
able
to,
to
I
give
have
you
to, come on.
yeah, so no, I mean, maybe let me tackle it from a different perspective, but I'll still share some destinations. Whatever inspires me. So I travel because I want to broaden my horizons, because I want to see people, not like see people and talk to everyone, but just sit down and observe them, what are their lives, who are they, how do they live? Plus, I really like architecture very much. I like art very much, different cultures. So just to go and see and experience this,
You
the more
explore,
inspiring
beautiful.
the place. Right, yeah, the more it feeds me. So then I go somewhere else, or I come back or whatever, and I feel like I'm a different person. If I stop doing this, my energy level, I get really grumpy, everything goes down. So I have to go to certain places. And the places that I like the most to start with, I like all of them because all of them are unique to start with. But some of the places that I think have inspired me the most, and now I feel bad because I'll probably neglect a few that have equally inspired me, but still I'll try. I love Turkey very much, very, very much. I think it's a very underestimated country, especially by the Western culture. Whereas like, oh, Turkey, what the hell, Turkey? Oh,
Mhm.
Turkey is extremely advanced with such deep, rich culture, amazing sights and spectacular, plus super modern and innovative, and and it's very nice it feels like even a clash sometimes. I love Istanbul. Like, by all means, I absolutely love Istanbul very much. What I also like, I've always liked Italy very much as well, because when you go, then you feel that it's like a detox. You come and you're sometimes a bit stressed out, but then after a few days, you're like, easy, easy, it's just whatever. Because of the feeling, the vibe that the people have there. Obviously, the south is different than the north, but the north, on the other hand, I like for the way that people dress, the way they look, for the style. And for the
Mhm.
style, I equally like France and Paris very much, just to be able, to see those beautiful things, and how the people behave, and the women, how they dress. And it's very inspiring to take a look at all this. I like the Middle East very much, in general. Absolutely, very much. I've been for a very long time inspired by the culture and history. And whenever I can, I read books and I read about all these things that, weren't taught to me by default when I was a child.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so maybe they're definitely more this. I mean, I love Santorini, I love Greece as well. I'm not a huge fan of Greek food though. Um, I mean, I don't even know what else to say. I also love some African countries as well. All of them are equally beautiful. It's a different experience everywhere, but the ones that I'm the most passionate about, I think I've shared, but probably I forgot some, but I've shared some as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, when is the last time that you actually been in Turkey? We know that there's like really big community and growing. They're growing really fast as well. A lot of digital nomad going to Turkey right now. Um, do you have any like friends over there or nomads, associates that you know that are kind of fixed over there for a couple of months or maybe
Yes,
more? Mm-hmm.
yes, I do know people. The last time I went, it was a while ago, because it was, let me think, September 2021. So a year and a half, more or less. And I feel like I really need to go back. But yeah, there are different communities, and I know that this is growing very much. And I also know people who are digital nomads over there, and I also know the movements, and also the events that are being organized right now. I think it's an amazing destination to do that, and I think that the country has a lot to offer. For people who don't maybe want to travel that far, especially if they live in Europe, they don't want to travel, to Bali, to Asia, to places over there, but Turkey is a spot where you can have everything at once. Yeah, that would
Beautiful.
be, yes.
All right, beautiful. So first of all, Nadia, thank you so much for joining us today. And that was a great, great, great interview. I would like to obviously give you the stage to give us your final kind of, pro tips slash promotional and everything that you are working on your side. And so please, yeah.
Oh goodness, yeah. I'm not a person who advertises. I mean, I just want to say that my biggest mission is to make choices like this available to everyone in the world, no matter where the people come from, no matter where they live, no matter what their background is, and also financial situation, because that determines a lot in today's world. And it's opening up. And I think that if we're all part of this movement, then we can build something beautiful together and challenge some pattern that were designed some time ago, but we don't have to follow them if we don't agree, which is not an easy journey. It's a very tough journey. And if you're willing to get to know more about this journey, then here comes the But check out remoteworkadvocate.com and everything that I publish with all my passion and pride and belief that the future of work and lifestyle and experiences is bright.
Kanana community, Kanana family, thank you so much for joining again. Nadia, thank you so much for joining. Guys, check out Nadia Instagram, YouTube, and follow her on LinkedIn as well. And the website, everything gonna be in the description, lined up for you guys. Really, really a lot of value over there. Nadia, thanks again. Have a great, great, great night, everyone. Berlin, Kanana. See ya.